Jet quickly flying off to the southwest, just saw it pop over the mountains, and of course not leaving a trail when two of its siblings have just left. Thick ones, one little less discernible than this Southwest Airlines 737 that just passed overhead. We can see the different clouds. I'll kind of zoom in here. You can see the lower clouds moving to the south, and then the chemtrail, this guy attached with this cloud deck up above. And this is a white trail too. Some interesting clouds coming up here on the end of this Friday. Off to the west, we've had numerous chemtrails today, and of course, as you have seen them or watched them over the course of the years, you can often see them working or crossing each other at perpendicular angles, 90-degree angles. You'll see the planes crossing. And here's one kind of off in the distance. And back off, we get it focused a little bit better right there. But what I'm curious about today is how we have these very sharp edges to these artificial cloud decks. These cloud decks that have been generated solely by the presence of the particles, be they condensation vapor or be they chemtrail particles, nanoparticles that we're finding in the soil samples. But nevertheless, they're being laid out right at these perfect cross angles, these 90-degree angles. And here's one of those wedges, cloud on this side. These clouds are emanating from a gap between this cloud and then this layer right there. You can see them coming out of that zone. But as I step back here again, you can see that kind of the little larger line, this boundary right here, that this particular layer represents, and then another one higher up. And then again, these clouds moving at a very different angle, emanating from the gap in between these two particular layers. And so when you see chemtrails like this one here, right through this gap between this layer here in the bottom and the one on the top, and then it continues on. This one fresh coming out, you can see how the ice crystals come, and then they do this curl and then come back. There's this little curl that happens right there, and so we send a plane on in there so we can get a measurement of just how it's dispersing, how it's deforming, because this looks very much like a front, a very classical front in meteorology, where you have this as the leading edge of a boundary. And what we don't know is what kind of a boundary is behind this. Is it simply air moving in a different direction? And it doesn't appear to be thermodynamic in nature. It appears to be more energetic. The wind's kind of moving wholly in a different way. End of a trail right there. Let's see if we can't get that focus just a touch bit better. Or maybe not. Nope, there we go. You can see that as one sharp edge. That trail simply begins right there. And then it comes on into the cloud. So these are on-off trails. They don't have to be laid down. They're chosen, and designed to be laid down in specific areas. And it really helps their weather geoengineering efforts if they can control and manipulate layers of the atmosphere independent of each other. And that really seems to be what they're doing here. Look at these. We'll see these trails just kind of disperse. That can all be measured via other aircraft or via spacecraft. And then they've got real-time, hands-on data about what the atmosphere is doing, whether it be natural or whether it be geoengineering. It's happening. Here's another plane. This guy right here coming out of this zone. You see how the layers are sandwiched together. And this plane, boom, popped a trail coming right out of it. Plane overhead, a United flight. Popped out of this cloud that we just saw, right there. And then there's a point where the cloud is spreading in a divergent pattern. and then the trail has to stick. So there's something happening between that mark there and then this mark here where the trail fades. That is data. That missing segment is data. Just to look along the western horizon as we hit sunset, you just see all of the action that is visible. And when we get to these low sun angles, then all of that activity, all those trails, all that they've been doing over the course of the day becomes a whole lot more visible as we end this Friday afternoon.